So what we'll do is we will go and turn sports once more, and we'll head back to what we saw on Saturday. Liam Brosnan, it was fairly empty around Fitzgerald Stadium,
Well, I was surprised enough with the crowd that was there, but I suppose when they come to think of it,
surprise good or surprise bad?
Surprise good for the crowd, because look, Kerry weren't out with a while. A lot of people were saying there were 3,000 or 4,000 people at it, but there was a lot more than 3,000 or 4,000. But I'd say after 10 minutes, a lot of the 3,000 or 4,000 could have left, to be honest, because we knew what was happening. The minute the referee threw the ball up, Tipperary ran behind the ball, and it was going to be a long game.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, we'll talk a little bit more about that up until 7 o'clock this evening, but now we'll take a break. Now, just in front of under 7,000 people at Fitzgerald Stadium on Saturday, Kerry senior footballers, I suppose they never really got into second gear at all. John Kennedy, they won the game, they played what was in front of them, got off the field, 25 points to 5. There isn't a whole pile to talk about the game, really, is there?
There isn't, Donal, I'll be honest with you. Like, the general consensus since is that where is the provincial championship going, really? Like, I mean, it was like Liam said there, after 10 minutes fellas felt like getting up and going away. Like, Tipperary had no interest in playing football, men behind the ball, stopped Kerry scoring. David Power felt before the game in his comments that learned something from it for the Tailteann Cup. I don't think he learned too much, in all fairness.
I suppose,
to be fair,
to be fair to Tipperary, I suppose they were not hiding to nothing. I suppose they had the game against Waterford, which they only barely won as well. I mean, in Waterford Division 4 team, Tipper probably sliding down now a small bit, Liam. It must be difficult to motivate yourself to come in against the All-Ireland champions, and I suppose, look, if they went out and maybe did attack Kerry, sure, I mean, it might have been a lot worse. And, I mean, at the end of the day, the Tailteann Cup, I suppose, is there for teams of Tipperary's ilk at the moment.
Yeah. And look, if we were in charge of Tipperary, I'm sure myself and John would do the exact same thing that Tipperary did, because there's no way they were going to come down, like you say, go man-to-man against a Kerry team. But it was just, I think it's the GA that has to sort this out. It's not Tipperary problem or a Kerry problem. The GA will have to sort. They'll have to come in with some sort of a rule. I think I have it cracked. I reckon my rules are probably the best. Halfway line, you can't kick the ball back over the halfway line, and you have to keep 3 players at all times inside your own half. So at least that would help.
You'd want about 16 linesmen now to be watching that, wouldn't you?
And then I actually said that to a person, and they said, who's going to govern you? You've one referee, but we don't. We have two referees on the sideline. What are they doing? They're standing with a flag. Can we not take the flag off him and bring him into the field? And this excuse of maybe county league matches, no, forget about that. This is inter-county stuff. Big games like that. We have. I suppose we have the one game that's probably the most officials in sport in the world. We have 4 umpires, we have 2 linesmen, and we have a referee. Name another sport that would have that many officials. So this thing of one referee, one manager, it doesn't wash with me. No, and it's very easy to do it. If the ball goes past the halfway line, if I kick the ball past the halfway line, it's a free on the halfway line for the opposition. The Aussie rules do it. They're moving fast. The ball's moving fast, and 3 players inside the halfway line at all times. It'll stop 15. The last day, I think I saw a picture. Sean Murphy in Killarney sent me a picture today where Shane Ryan was on the halfway line, and everybody else there was no one inside the Kerry half.
Yeah. But in fairness to you, I mean, the Tipperary goalkeeper spent more time out around the half-back line moving the ball on as well.
He kicked frees and everything from the halfway,
playing it. It's still 25 points in a game. I mean, people want excitement, and they want, I mean, like, every one of them were fantastic scores. I mean, Tom Sullivan come to the field kicking fantastic scores. I mean, Tony Brosnan's points were absolutely outstanding. Jason Foley there, Shannon Rangers, walked up the field there, took on 25 men and kicked it over the bar as well. Are we getting a bit too selfish? I mean, what do we want to see? I mean, it's not like the Romans and the Christians, is it? Is that the kind of stuff that we want to see? We wanted David Clifford to score 4-10 yesterday. I
think, look, the victory was Kerry went out and did the job, and it was over. Like, when they just got into gear, first 10 minutes after that, we were, like you said, all the players you mentioned, like, they gave an exhibition, really. But it's more than that. People, like, they're paying money to go in to see a match. They want to be the competition. Like, it's great to win, but like for Tipperary, what does that do for them? Even going into the Tailteann Cup, they must be demoralised. Look, they're without Michael Quinlivan, they're without Conor Sweeney, who was out with a cruciate. Bill Maher was playing with New York. They have a few fellas retired. Very difficult. A team that won a Munster Championship a few years ago, 2020, they're down Division 4, and that's a problem. But like Liam said, it's not Tipperary's fault, it's not Kerry's fault. Kerry went out and won the game, and they're not there to give out an exhibition for the people out, or to please the supporters either. They're going to win and win at all costs, and however you win, it doesn't matter. But I think the GA have to have a look at Dublin yesterday, 4:30. I I mean,
it's frightening.
You look at that; it's frightening
for a Division 2 team.
A Division 2 team. You look at Sligo and New York. Like New York on the high after beating Leitrim, come back and Sligo, huge gap again. There's a huge gap. And we probably won't see the real competitive stuff until we get to the last 8.
Mm-hmm. Liam, does this gap come about because counties don't have players up to the standard, or is the club structure within counties poorer than other counties?
Well, there's a mixture of everything there, Donal, and I think what a lot of it now is that the good footballers are not going to put the time in to the so-called weaker counties, because I think the Clare under-20 manager said it last week in an interview that 7 of his better players wouldn't come and play with the Clare under-20s, and the reason why, and their excuse is why are we doing all this training for one game? Mm-hmm. And it's no more like the Tipperary footballers the weekend. They're after putting down a hard year of it, maybe some of them after a couple of years. If you go knocking at their door next year and say, what am I doing all this for? And I think there's a lot of people walking away, even at a high level, from it, because it's the intensity and it's a professional setup. But there's no light at the end of the tunnel for these guys.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the hurling, Donal, if you look at the hurling, 3 tiers, Liam McCarthy,
There's something to aim for.
Christy Ring, they have their level. Competitive games. You look at all the games that Joe McDonough at the weekend, very little between the teams, very competitive. You look at the National Football League, from Division 1 to 4, really competitive games. Mm-hmm. These landslide victories, they're no good. They're no good for the winners, but they're certainly no good for the losers.
But is that not why the Tailteann Cup is there? I mean, every team deserves a shot at the title within the province, but you have your own place where you can rest now. I mean, Tipper, very evidently Tailteann Cup standard, I suppose. And then you see teams like Meath not making the cut and slipping down. I mean, years ago you wouldn't have considered Meath and Tipperary in the same pool.
No, you would not, and like a huge win for Offaly. They probably surprised themselves, but they've put, as you said, Meath down, and the likes of Cork and Kildare are looking over their shoulders in what's going to happen for the remainder to see will they get in. They're probably okay now, but like it's.
Would love to go into these counties and peel back and say what is wrong.
You would, yeah.
Now above and Meath, what happened in the last 5 or 6? Is there players playing minor level, playing under 20 and walking away from it then?
And you look at the management team that's in Meath, Colin O'Rourke, Sean Boyle and all these, some of the ladies management teams,
right,
they're in their strength and conditioning, top class people. But is it that the talent isn't there? Is it that the interest is gone? And why should we do it like Liam said? Mm-hmm. We can say now, we can nearly pick the last 4 in the All-Ireland series now.
Very easy,
and that's not good. Can you do it in the FA Cup? Can you do it in the Champion in the Heineken Cup? Very difficult, but we can do it. We can do it in the. We can't do it for the hurling.
You can do it in the senior men's curling championship in Kerry, can't you?
Good. Exactly.
So we will say flip that argument on its side with the men's curling championship in Kerry. I mean, you have 16 teams entered it. Like straight away, 8 of them have no chance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, but yet they have to tug out. They have to get sponsors. They have to train. They have to get a manager.
Yeah. And I suppose, look, that's going back to. Is the interest there? Like if you go to John's side of the country, or even St. Kieran's, my own side of the country, there is good footballers there, but for years and years and years, a lot of them wouldn't play. So, and the reason why is, we're not going to win that. Why am I doing all this training? So I think that's a big problem, and it's creeping into
our
county.
Amateur status. I mean, at the end of the day, people paid €20 yesterday to watch a game. Even though people will say they train professionally and they put in the professional effort, they're still amateur players. I mean,
but it's not amateur, Donal. That's the thing about it, and that's what's killing it.
But when you see the likes of Tipperary playing the best they can, their effort would be classified as amateur, as would a number of teams that went out this week. I mean, Kerry have got themselves to a level where they train and put fierce effort in, but the reward is huge for them. Dublin the same, a number of Ulster counties, Galway again are on the rise. Mayo are there for years, but I mean, all 32 counties in Ireland, I mean, God knows 26 of them have no chance to win the All-Ireland.
No. And that's the thing where the GA have to sit down, and because I do think we're losing players. You look at the New York team, that's only a typical, look at all the county players that New York have, and that's going for countries all over the world now at the moment. You very rarely would we see before here a Kerry player that was inside with a panel, won in Ireland, Jack Savage, and next thing he just walks away from the panel. If that happened 20 years ago, there'd be eruption options. But young fellas are doing that. They see the commitment, and I suppose it's very hard if you want to go away now and have even club football. Club football now is gone to a different level as well. And John, he's training a team to know what's expected, and to know. And if you don't give it to them, if you don't give it to the young fellas, then they're giving out about you. But when you give it to them, they get sick of it and they walk away from it. So I think there's a lot of different angles there where we could be talking about all night. Donal, how could we fix it?
Well, I suppose we're talking about that. Man of the match. We put a poll up on Twitter, of course. Man of the match, we selected 3, and it was Sean O'Shea, Tony Brosnan, and Tom Sullivan. Liam Brosnan, who would you pick out of that 3?
Mine would have been Tony Brosnan.
Yeah, Tony Brosnan, yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, we'll have to check the poll after because we finish at 7 o'clock. So both of you going for Tony Brosnan. Hopefully you've got the ear of the people anyway. Quick comments in. That match was no good for either Kerry or Tipperary. I think something has to be done about the provincial championships. It's too lopsided and unfair. Why aren't Kerry scoring more goals with the talented forwards they have? And that's Charles. I suppose again, no goal. 25 points, I suppose. There wasn't that many goal chances created either, John, was there?
Not really, and I think there was a few occasions, Donal, if they needed a goal, they could have gone for it. I felt they took the points. The game was over. They kicked from the points, and 25 points was great kicking. And from a wide number of players, like it wasn't 1 or 2, and some great scores got. But look, from a Kerry point of view, back after their training stint in Portugal, they look fresh after the 10 minutes. They look fit. They use the bench and job done, and move on to Clare. And Clare struggled past Limerick, being honest, haven't beaten Cork.
Great job by Mark Fitzgerald.
Yeah, in fairness now, yeah.
Limerick set up well.
Yeah, they did well, and unlucky to miss a few chances, could have won the game, but
But again, the reward would have been awful, wouldn't it?
Yeah, correct.
The game against Kerry. They were there last year. Final one before we go for break. Kerry are like the English soccer team. They cannot score a penalty. We've had this problem since 1982. God, that's going back, and I remember the penalty that he's on about there as well. Surely it's time to practice this skill. Anthony from Tralee. Liam Brosnan, were you good at taking penalties?
No. Stayed well clear of them.
Did you players miss a lot of penalties, don't they?
They do, I suppose. And compared to soccer, there is big differences because it's farther out. The goalkeepers are bigger now as well. And John was a good penalty taker in his day, so he'd probably know a lot more about it. But yeah, I was surprised it was Tony that was taking it, because the way I was kind of looking at it was, if this was an All-Ireland semi-final, All-Ireland final, who would be kicking it? So you'd be looking at Sean O'Shea, David Clifford. Yeah. So it was a surprise when Tony went up. And look, to be fair, it did him no harm. Sometimes guys after missing a penalty, the head could drop. I think he went on and he did.
To be fair to Tony Brosnan's penalty, and of course, you being a goalkeeper, you have to defend the goalkeepers union at that time. I mean, like, the goalkeeper never gets any credit for saving one. I mean, Tony's penalty hit the target. It didn't go over the bar, it didn't go wide. I mean, the keeper saved it. So, I mean, on this, when people said it was a poor penalty, the keeper still saved it.
Yeah, and it was, I suppose, the poor penalty was coming from, it was probably a nice height, and it probably it wasn't hit with enough of power. It was hitting to the corner. But look, we got to give Michael O'Reilly a bit of praise for saving the penalty. That he'll have that pitch up and he'll wall for a while anyway.
It was a good save. I tell you, it was a good save, and it came at a good time for him as well. In fairness to him.